It seems like, these past couple of years, we couldn't say certain words on YouTube. And one of the main things was COVID. You couldn't say it. They were really restricting you from saying it, even on Instagram. And apparently, Mark Zuckerberg has came out and confessed that the White House had pressured him into restricting people from using the word COVID, speaking against COVID, talking about the vaccines and how they felt about it. Let's tune into the video and see what's going on out here in these streets.
Welcome back. Mark Zuckerberg says the White House pressured the company to censor COVID-19 content. Julia Borsten joins us with more. Was this during the pandemic then?
Yes, that's right. So Mark Zuckerberg just writing in a letter that just was posted late last night into the House Judiciary Committee that the Biden administration pressured Meta to censor COVID-19 related content on Facebook. Writing, quote, in 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take down content. Going on to say, I believe the government pressure was wrong. Now, this letter follows the committee's report that came out in May on the topic. And the report and the committee asked Meta for a comment. The White House responding to Meta's comment, saying we believe tech companies and other private actors should take into account the effects their actions have on the American people while making independent choices about the information they present. Now, the executive branch's ability to influence content moderation has been at the center of Supreme Court cases. Now, in June.
So, in other words, the White House is trying to get rid of free speech. In other words, that's how I took that just now. If your platform is used for people to express how they feel or say how they feel about certain topics without it being completely, nonsense or, hate or whatever, hate speech, this is people having their opinion on a vaccine that was just created off of a virus that was just created also at the same time. And people don't know what to expect. And you're just pushing a vaccine on people, or you're pushing information on people that you want us to know, but we can't listen to anything else that other people are talking about. That's you're trying to get rid of freedom of speech. That's how I look at it. Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below.
The court threw out a lawsuit seeking to limit the government's ability to communicate with social media companies about content moderation. And then in July, the Supreme Court kicked two cases challenging Florida and Texas laws challenging social media moderation back to those lower courts, warning them to consider the boundaries imposed by the Constitution against government interference with private speech. Now, Tyler and Contessa, social platforms have such massive reach, many people would argue such massive power. The question of when and whether it's appropriate for the government to weigh in will certainly always be a contentious issue.
How is this different,
Absolutely.
or is it different from an ancient time when someone in the White House, a chief of staff, maybe the president, would call the president of NBC News or Tom Brokaw or Walter Cronkite to complain about a story?
Well, I'll tell you that it's much quicker, a lot quicker now to get your information out and get back to another person. Honestly, like before social media, they had a call, they had to go in person. It took time to get a message out. It wasn't as fast. Social media now, you could just put on your phone, record a video, send a message out, and it hits millions right away. You don't have to go on no news station. You don't have to do anything spectacular. All you got to do is just pick up your phone, post something, and that may possibly go viral. That's how easy it is now. It's not hard at all, but let's see what they're talking about.
Well, because that was a news organization creating that story. What's so different about Meta and about Facebook or Instagram, for instance, is that they are platforms. They're platforms where everyday individuals make posts which are protected by free speech and the First Amendment. The other thing to consider here is that these platforms are also protected by Section 230. Now, this is a clause that says that these technology platforms are not to be held liable for the content that ordinary people post on their platforms. So that's why if someone posts something that could incite violence on the platform, Meta wants to take it down, but they are not held liable if something bad happens because of the content posted on their platform.
And I completely agree with that, honestly. At the end of the day, it's not the platform that is threatening violence. It's not the platform that is saying negative things. It's the actual person, and that person should be held accountable for their actions if they do choose to post vulgar and hateful stuff. At the end of the day, it's their choice. They're choosing to do that. That's not against the freedom of speech, but it's against the guidelines of the company, and we are not held accountable. It's simple. It's simple. Let's continue.
That's all because of Section 230.
I guess it goes to a very interesting argument. I mean, I take your point, and I think it's an absolutely valid one, that these are not, that Facebook is not a news organization. But it is a communication organization. It is a platform, and it is, in a sense, a publisher or republisher of content.
That's exactly what this debate about Section 230 reform is all about, Tyler, because a lot of people would like to see these platforms be held responsible for the content that they allow people, individuals protected by the First Amendment, to share on this platform. And even the companies themselves have said that they're open to some sort of Section 230 reform, though if they could be sued every time there was something that was potentially dangerous posted, then that would be a very expensive situation. But this is that's the thing. These are open platforms, and Mark Zuckerberg would like them not to be necessarily the ultimate source of news, because this is news.
Well, that's why Twitter is so big. And that's why Twitter is continuing to grow, because it is actually free speech over there. You can literally say anything you want, besides of what is against their guidelines. But you can say anything you want as a person on Twitter. You can say anything you want. You see so much stuff on Twitter. It's unbelievable. But at the same time, it's freedom of speech. You should be able to say what you have to say. Just know that you, at the same time, when you can say what you have to say, you are also held accountable, completely accountable for every action and every word that you use. So when stuff hits the fan, don't be surprised if something comes back to bite you because of what you said in the past or what you say in your moment in time. It's very important to do that, honestly, and that's how I that's how I do things myself, honestly. I might say come on here and say some wild stuff some days, but not to the point to where I gotta look back and be like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe there are some times that I said that and I just let it rock. Who knows? We'll see what happens, I guess, in the future. But y'all let me know y'all thoughts about this, man. I really appreciate y'all viewership. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. Let me know y'all thoughts about this in the comments below. I'd really like to know y'all thoughts. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on your way out. Until next time, man. Peace.